This edition of Dolphins Today is made possible by Manscaped. You guys can get 20% off and free shipping on all of their men's grooming products when you use promo code DOLPHINS over at manscaped.com. Dolphins fans, we are doing a mailbag on today's show, answering all of your questions. If you enjoy our mailbags, even with no live show this week, show me. Type in me in the comments section, and we can continue to do these into the future. So first up from Marcos Noah, I think that's how you pronounce your last name. Terribly sorry if wrong, my friend. What would be an ideal trade package for Ced Wilson, Jeff Wilson? My answer is fairly similar. We'll begin with Cedrick Wilson, who, to be quite honest, I don't think has any trade value on his current contract. There's a $5 million base salary. I don't think teams are falling over themselves to pay that amount of money to Cedrick Wilson right now. I would be very surprised if anyone offered more than we'll take him off your hands if you eat some of the money contract there. The Dolphins thought he was going to be a key part of their offense. Then Tyreek Hill became available, and they didn't need him anymore. Also, I did just misspeak. $7 million base salary. Dolphins can save $5 million. He's got $5 million guaranteed. So that was my difference there that they cut him. I think unless they eat money, no one's going to trade for Cedrick Wilson right now. Now, Jeff Wilson maybe could get you something back. Now, it might only be a later day 3 draft pick simply because teams don't make offers these days for backs. They're very much viewed as replaceable. I don't view his contract as anywhere near the detriment that Cedrick Wilson's is. So I think, especially if you do end up signing a Dalvin Cook and you want to go with 3 backs, in theory, Mostert, Cook, and Devon Achane, I think you could get something back for Jeff Wilson, but I would set your expectations on the lower end of a potential trade package. So 2 good questions there on potential trade candidates there, Marcos. I'm sure we'll check in on them throughout the preseason. From Diehard Fins fan, is the record 11-6 respectable for the Fins? I think it's better than respectable. I think that's an outcome we would all take right now, right? To put it in perspective, the Dolphins have not won 11 games since 2008. They've won it twice since 2000. So yes, I think matching your best win total of the century is probably a respectable outcome. If the Dolphins get that, they're in the playoffs. We'll see if they win the division or not, but they have the chance to make some noise, making it in the tougher conference or division in the NFL. I think is a great outcome for Miami. So I want you guys now to predict the Dolphins' record in 2023. This is going to be today's pinned comment. So if an ad comes here on YouTube, that's great, actually. Ignore the ad. No one cares. Head down to the pinned comment and go vote what you think the Dolphins' record will be this season. From John Ruiz, do the Miami Dolphins still have a shot of signing Dalvin Cook during mid-July or during training camp? John, I think it's more than just a shot. I still think the Dolphins should be viewed as the favorites for Dalvin Cook. Not a guarantee. There are other teams that have been linked to Cook since he was released by the Vikings. Miami has been the most constantly linked organization. The Jets have been linked sometimes. Maybe it's a threat against Miami. Who knows? Patriots, Denver a little bit. The Vikings allegedly have an offer. So, yeah, I think there's a very good shot of Dalvin Cook still ending up in Miami, whether that's in 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, before week 1, mid-August, whatever. I still think the Dolphins should be viewed as the front runners to land Dalvin Cook in free agency. From Liam Sweeney, if the Dolphins are worried about signing Connor Williams to a long-term extension because of his lack of experience at center, what do you think of signing Ben Jones to play center, moving Williams back to guard? Interesting question. I'll preface this by saying I'm not sure I really buy the Dolphins, the alleged argument of, lack of experience at center. I mean, they signed him, played him at center, having not really played it before in the NFL. But I do still think that Williams' best spot probably is left guard. The question for me really it's less about Connor Williams, how you think you maximize him, because I think he's going to be a starter for you. I'm a little surprised he skipped some of minicamp. I bet he's there for training camp, though. And can Ben Jones be your guy? Jones has played well over the course of his NFL career, but he's getting up there in age. He is no longer a spring chicken. He's no longer young. The Titans are playing Aaron Brewer at center right now, and that's not someone you probably know because he's not very good, doesn't play a ton, and they didn't bring back Ben Jones. That makes me wonder if maybe there's some more just age being beaten up things, concerns for Ben Jones maybe have been initially reported. Today's show is made possible by Manscaped. Smooth Sack Summer is here. Get on board or get left behind and use Manscaped's top-of-the-line men's grooming products to make sure your balls are looking fresh, clean, and smooth this summer. 20% off and free shipping on the Lawnmower 4.0, the Performance Package. When you use promo code DOLPHINS over at manscaped.com, the Performance Package comes with the Lawnmower 4.0, the Weed Whacker, the most comfortable boxers known to mankind, ball toner, ball conditioner, and that Lawnmower 4.0. You're worried about maybe cutting yourself where sun don't shine, where it's really painful to cut yourself. Manscaped helps prevent that. 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com with promo code Dolphins. If you're still using this thing to shave your face, to shave your balls, that's kind of gross, get Manscaped instead. Links in the comment section and the description of today's show. Carter Reimer, trade for Aaron Donald. He said he wanted to play with Ramsey again, and he would be Miami's final piece to a Super Bowl. I think it really helps your chances there. Certainly, I think a bigger impact than Dalvin Cook. We actually did discuss Donald on a recent video, but I have no complaints about going over it again. It's Aaron frickin' Donald, right? The big pro here is he's still awesome, relatively speaking. He didn't have the best year last season, but 10 TFLs, 5 sacks in 11 games is still really good, and the pressure rates didn't really drop off or that drastically. There were injuries. The Rams' defense was a dumpster fire. The biggest concern here is that Donald is a short-term player. He's got 2 more years left on his contract. I don't know if he's going to play beyond that. And if he's not, you're moving probably a premium draft pick or picks and or players involved as well, and then hoping that you're going to get that title in the next 2 years. It might be worth it, and I think especially for Chris Grier, who we have some questions on him in a little bit, going all in might be worthwhile, much like Les Snead did. A little bit of desperation can be a good thing. Maybe the Dolphins could become the new Rams and just say F them picks altogether. If you guys want more free Dolphins videos, make sure you are subscribed. Let's get to 43K not long after Dolphins camp begins. I know we're not going to get there beforehand, but we're going to give you free camp updates. What more could you want? Hit that sub button right now for more free Dolphins videos. From Cliff D, how does Chris Grier still have a job? Performance doesn't matter. The last 3 years of Chris Grier's tenure as Dolphins GM, they've been above 500 every season. They've gone 9-8, 9-8, 10-6. Now, they've just missed the playoffs in some of those. I get that. The Adam Gase hire was a disaster. There's reason to want better drafting out of Chris Grier. I understand there have been some misses, some painful misses, I know, in the NFL draft. You can also look back at some of those classes and go, hey, man, we got Jalen Waddle, Jalen Phillips. That's a pretty good duo there. Overall, I think most people watching, myself included, view the Dolphins as a real playoff team. If not playoff threat, likely playoff team, maybe even more than that. You're not going to find many better GMs who have done better than that. There's a handful. I'm not saying give him an A grade, but I think Chris Grier has done a better job than some of the recent GMs. And I will say this part, too, because I've made this point before. I don't like how in years past, the Dolphins have fired the GM, and then kept the same head coach, and then fired the head coach, kept the GM, fired the GM, kept the coach. I don't think that's good stability. Let these two work for a couple years. If it doesn't work, if Tua especially does not become a franchise guy, then you can look to revisit. But I do want to hear from you guys still. Grade the job Chris Grier has done. A, B, C, D, or F. From Sir or Senior Arguin, I'm not sure how to pronounce that name, so I'm terribly sorry about that one. If we somehow start 1 or 6 or 2 or 5, is there a chance we trade away players mid-season? Yeah, if you've got like 1 or 2 wins by the trade deadline, you might look to trade away some players on 1-year deals. You know, that could be a Zach Sealer, that could be a Raekwon Davis, could be any number of guys who aren't going to be with your franchise next season. You kind of sell, so to speak. I wouldn't necessarily get too worried about that outcome. I mean, look, again, 3 straight winning seasons. You're viewed as a contender. I don't think that's a super likely outcome. From RS Swimmer 84, who will be our defensive MVP this year? Wilkins, Phillips, Ramsey, Howard, Holland, or Chubb? Really good question. You can make a strong argument for any one of those guys emerging as your best defensive player this season. Maybe I'll go Jalen Ramsey. Again, you can talk me into any of those players. They'll all benefit each other. We're naming 6 players on that defense that I think if you were to rank them top 10 among their positions, Wilkins is in there, at least close to it. Phillips is close to it. Again, we can base it on that ESPN list, right? Ramsey, Howard are in it or close to it. Holland's in it. Chubb's maybe more like top 15 or so. But that's a good grouping up front for the Dolphins defense. I'm excited about what they can do under Vic Fangio this year. So I want you guys then to answer this question for me. Who is the best defensive player on the Dolphins right now? Who will end up being that team's MVP? Go vote in the comment section. Before we go, as promised, a shout out to the comment winner, whoever comments the most on a recent video. We promise a shout out to MJEJ 9000 YT. Had a ton of comments, ton of replies as well. Thank you, my friend. A bunch of you guys came close. We'll do this again in the future.